And we're going to have some music, some storytelling, some singing, dancing. Yeah. All sorts of fun stuff. So come on in and let's start this. And if anybody would like to go first, please. Oh, perfect. I love it. Awesome. And in the wheel of storytelling. Who's going to all right, come on, guys.
I guess they fit.
Sometime later, maybe.
Right here, yeah. Oh my God. So Peter said found a harmonic so we are to that pop art this way.
Oh, I'm scouting on behalf of Amy and Nick. To see if there's convenient places to sit, or if it makes sense to just stay on the front couch and keep quiet and listen.
I mean, you could come closer and come on a closer couch.
Well, I think the closer couch might be occupied.
Oh, no. You just sit all good in the center.
We might not be very long. But
Okay, can everybody who wants to hear me hear me? Yes. Almost. Do you like my tiny guitar? It's like a guitar for so I'm going to tell you guys a story. And then I'm going to sing you guys a little song.
Folks, if you want to sit on the floor, there's plenty of space in this room. You can all squeeze in.
Encouraging them to come on.
Squeeze in if you would like.
All right.
Gentle folk. To hear the evening's festivities. Or notes.
So there's a reason I like to go first. There are so many reasons I want to go first. Have you heard some of the musicians here? They're like really real musicians. So I want to go first to get like out of the way so I don't have to follow any of them. I also wanted to go first because I have a story that I imagine is much like everybody else's story. So this is a story of how I met Ping. I met Ping at a party about 9 years ago, which was, my life was a lot different then. I didn't have 3 kids. Ping's life was a lot different then. 9 years under the bridge. We went to a party. We didn't know each other. I was courting my now husband. We were dating, and he was introducing me to sort of this Burning Man community. And I was like this sort of straight person going like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. And I'm never going back. So I never went back. And so I met Ping at this party. It was a costume party. I was dressed up as the Tickle Fairy. I was wearing a slinky dress, and I had a wand with some feathers at the end, and I was tickling people. It was very fun. It was delicious and fun. And so I was flirting with people, and they were flirting with me. And then I started talking to Ping, and the craziest thing happened. I've been trying to think about how do I characterize what happened. I don't even know. But I think I realized what I have recently, in thinking about this story, decided what happened. What happened was love at first sight. Kind of a quasi-platonic, not very romantic love at first sight, but love at first sight. And I knew, so I was like, so there's that hottie over there, and there's that costumed person over there, and but all of those people, they like faded into the background, and then there was Ping having conversations with me, and I was like, oh my goodness. And I thought to myself, by the end of the night, we're in the hot tub, Ping saying goodnight, and I was like, don't go. And he's like, I gotta go. And I was like, okay, well, we're just gonna be friends forever then. And he was like, okay. That's how I remember it. I don't know if that's that's basically what happened. So that's what happened. And now we've been friends forever, for 9 years and more going on into the future. And she has graciously agreed to be a part of my family and have a relationship with my husband and me and my kids, and just be kind of a special friend to our family and has a special place in our heart. So, because I love Ping so much, for all of those reasons, despite the fact that I am not a musician, I have no musical talent, I don't know anything, but I am like a rule follower. So I got the invitation. It was like, songs, like your songs. I was like, okay, I have to have a song. So, so that's what's happening. So I went out and so this is my children's toy. This belongs to Tesla. I really didn't play it until about 2 weeks ago when I got the party invitation. And I was like, all right, I think I could probably, I don't know, we can do this. Like, this seems like if Tesla can do it, I can do it. So I borrowed a tune, because I don't know how to write music, but I did write the lyrics. And this is a special song for Ping on his birthday. So I
I don't really know how to play the ukulele, but for my good friend Ping, I've been practicing daily. The best thing about Ping is that he's so smart. The best thing about Ping is his great big heart. So let's all have a sing along. A happy birthday, Ping along. Tell your friends to bring along lots of songs for the sing along. So Ping's lifestyle is fun. He's really into Polly. And he's a big fan of my good friend Molly. What I like about Ping is we're on the same page. What's weird about Ping is he never seems to age. Happy birthday, Ping along. Tell your friends to bring along lots of hugs for the sing-along. So Ping used to work at this little place called Google to have lots of money for charity. You know, Ping's always very frugal. Ping's always working hard to save the world. So if you're in a crisis, Ping's right there with flag unfurled. Let's all have a sing-along. A happy birthday, Ping along. So tell your friends to bring along some love for the sing-along. So tell your friends to bring along some love for the sing-along. I'm still alive. Yeah.
I see a hand raised. I see a hand raised.
Should I go for a story?
Yeah.
Bravo. All right. I'll keep it short. This is wow. So this story is from many years ago when Ping and I were roommates and we were working at the same company called Industrial Light and Magic. Ping was part of the technical team, and it was the habit of the technical team to take rotations every week, do technical support for the rest of the production. And this story, this incident happened one night when Ping came back home, and it was during the week, one of the weeks that he was doing technical support, and he looked very dejected, and I asked, what's going on? And he goes, man, today I got the weirdest technical support phone call. I pick up the phone, and this guy is screaming in my ear, it doesn't matter how hard I hit the key, I can't get the dot over dot thingy. The thing is like, the what? The dot over dot thingy. You mean the column? Yeah, whatever. The thing is like, are you hitting shift at the same time? And being said, there were 5 seconds of silence. Then the guy said, you're a fucking genius!
What's next? You got a third? Okay. Okay. Awesome. Nobody else ready to go? Hi, everyone. So, some of you may have seen pictures on Facebook that recently Ping and I went to New Zealand, and it was a wonderful trip. We walked the Abel Tasman Trail. I'm sorry.
tramped the Able Tasman Trail track, and it was beautiful. Like 4 days of backpacking through forests and beaches, and then on our way back towards civilization, our camper van broke down on the side of the road, and that was awesome because we got to sleep on the side of the road in our camper van until the next morning when, you know, we got shooed away and put into a garage to get fixed. And, you know, we kind of lost a day in a small town and eventually made it back to where we were going to get another camper van. And so at that point, it had been like 5 days without a shower. And I was like, this is really awesome, but I really need a shower. Like, this is driving me crazy. And so we were going to a campsite that we had picked out specifically for hot water showers. And we're like, this is going to be awesome. We're going to have not only a shower, but a hot shower. And we drive there. It's a beautiful drive. And we get there and I pull up to this building that looks like, you know, the showers and like this big outdoor kitchen. And I pull up the car and Pink jumps out to check on the showers and he just comes back with this big smile on his face and goes, "You're not going to like this." So there's showers and it looks like they work, but the door is locked. But of course, Ping already has a solution. In this big outdoor kitchen right next to it are these really big sinks. And I think we could fit in them. I'm like, right, I don't like it. Like, maybe I'll wait till the morning for a shower. He's like, no, come on, I'm gonna do it. And I was like, okay, you do that, and I'll watch. And sure enough, 10 minutes later, we're both in these giant sinks. And I'm just like sitting there in the sink that, you know, I can actually sit in and putting hot water on my head with a cup. And I just keep looking over, and there's Ping doing the exact same thing in the sink right across from me. And I was just like, I am never going to forget this. This is amazing. Who would have thought I would ever be having a sink bath right across from me? This is great. And take our shower and then go pull up to our campsite where we found open showers. Ping always has a solution, even if it doesn't work. There's a solution, and that's something I'll always admire and love about Ping. Happy birthday, Ping!
All right, I can go. Hello from Canada.
Hi.
Hey. Emergency. We've already talked about you need to come to live in Canada for 4 years. Come on up.
How about 8?
November, 8, 12, however long it takes. So I don't know. Oh, Chris is not going to line. So for some context, the robot guy, Holly 7000, and Ping and I went to high school together.
Wait, hold on.
So I've known Ping for 20 a lot of years. And Ping's parents as well. So when I did a speech thing at Chris's wedding and embarrassed the hell out of him and shocked his parents. And I may do the same thing here. We'll see. Yeah.
You guys hold.
Too much noise.
Back here, we can do loud.
Just tell me.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Chris just had a baby.
Nice.
The Magnus is 7 months old now, so I'm looking forward to seeing him next month. All right, so the story. So you have to take yourself back to when you were 15.
was a very long time ago. Ping looked basically exactly like his hair was black, but that was about the only difference. So Simons, Chris, and I met in grade 9, and we were at a private school. And this is
Uniforms.
Well, of course, we are in uniform with ties and jackets, and we've been the best of friends. There's only 2 people outside my family that I love. Chris is one, Ping is the other. So very close to me. And girls were a bit of a challenge back then. They were very mysterious things. There was very few of them. It was a mostly all boys school. They just opened up. There was like 10 of them. So there weren't that many girls. There was a lot of boys. So
That's a good ratio.
with the ratio like that, you need to be inventive. And as Lotus just noted, when Ping is faced with a problem, he needs to solve it. Though not the way normal people solve a problem. So from a technology perspective, we're talking, this is like, there were 286s in the lab. Computer network had just been established. And Ping and I and Chris are like, what is this computer network thing? Let's log into this and try and figure it out. It was a Novell network. And Ping and I learned about this thing called a TSR, a Terminate Stay Resident program. Program you could run and it would stay in memory. And we learned about keyboard interrupts, and without too much effort, we figured out how to write a keyboard logger. I should say, we envisioned and Ping wrote. And such a program, you could run it, leave the machine, and someone else could come along and say, type in their username and password. And it would be sitting there in memory for you to come along and pick up later. Which seemed like a brilliant idea. So we did that. And not long after, we had the admin password to the Novell network. So we didn't really know what to do with that for some time. But then Ping decided that there was this girl. Her name was Lauren. Of course, she was older. Ping was always like at the grade above us. And Ping wanted Lauren. So now a normal person would have gone up to Lauren and said, hi. But that was way too complicated. So what Ping did was he wrote a program that would run on all of the 20 or so PCs, all in memory, and sit there and wait to detect Lauren logging. And this was Valentine's Day. And so when Lauren sat down at the computer, she logged into this computer, and instead of getting the normal Novell login screen, the whole screen dissolved. And there were hearts floating around her name. Very, very sweet. Unfortunately, the result of this escapade, 2 things happened. One is our computer teacher, Mr. Pasco, put an alarm on his admin so that every time he logged in, the computer would go beep, so that he would know if someone else was logging in as him in the computer room. That was outcome number 1. Outcome number 2 was Ping had an unfortunate visit with the administration in the school, and he was the first person suspended. And we learned a very important lesson, and that's that if you want to meet a girl, you should just go and talk to her. See what I made? See what I did? I told you. Parents might not have heard I don't know. He was suspended. So if he didn't go to school and you didn't know about it, I don't know what happened.
You just got grounded.
Excellent, Jeff. No problem.
I'll have to do the good.
Too late.
He's a perfect boy. Anybody else like to play a song? Ping is going to come up and play a song with Eric and me in just a little while. But if anybody else would like to play a song or tell the story of how they met Ping, that's usually a pretty easy one or straightforward one. Not always straightforward, but definitely easy.
You can go. Awesome.
Excellent.
There you are. So I met Ping twice. The second time was just a couple of years ago when I met Naomi at Burning Man and found Ping living in the same house. So that was cool to reconnect. The first time was way back around a decade ago, and we were in a similar technophile circles. And there's not a lot of point to this story, but I remember I had just come up with a name for a website that was going to be my personal website. And the name was xenophilia.org, which is actually still online, means love of new or strange things. And I remember telling Ping about it, and he went, "Oh, cool." Yeah, I don't know if you remember that. Yeah. So that I don't have the best memory, but that's a memory that stuck with me through the decades because Ping was like the person to go, "Oh, that's cool," on a name like Xenophilia.
Okay. So I haven't really known Ping that long. I met him at a party that I was at with Rachel and Lotus. And and there was gonna be a big cuddle puddle, which I was super psyched for. I didn't get to stay for it, but I met Ping there. And I thought he was super awesome, and I loved playing with his hair. And so I didn't really know what to sing, but I wanted to sing a song for you because I was told songs and
She's a
stories.
rule follower like you, Maria.
And similar to you, I took a song and I changed some of the words because some of the words worked and then others just didn't, and so I changed it to be birthday theme. Okay. Now your birthday's drawing near. Can't believe it's finally here. Take some time to look and see at what will be. Let the sun rise, let the birds sing. Let there be light, let there be morning. I don't know how we made it till now. Let there be light, let there be morning. Let there be morning. Hello, future goodbye past, with fond memories that will last. Another sunset, one more dawn, once more reborn. So let the sun rise, let the birds sing, let there be light, let there be morning. I don't know how we made it till now. Let there be light, let there be morning. Let the sun rise, let the birds sing, let there be light, let there be morning. I don't know how we made it till now, but let there be light, let there be morning, let there be morning.
everybody. I'm Kat. I'll tell a quick story. About 3.5 years ago, I was cooking breakfast in the communal kitchen up at Harbin Hot Springs, and I was making eggs, and I needed pepper, and there was this really lovely person there that had some pepper, and I asked, Ping, or I didn't know your name at the time, but like, hi, can I borrow some pepper? And it was just like, the energetic connection was very immediate, and I was just like really excited to like maybe make a new friend, but we didn't like exchange contact info or anything. And then fast forward to that following Burning Man, and Ping stumbles across my camp and sees me and is like, Kat, Ping! And then we had like one of those just like Burning Man moments and wandered out into the, desert, and then found a white forest and just laid and like just had one of those, Burning Man journey things. And we started talking and we realized we live like a mile from each other, and maybe we should hang out. And so the following burn comes along, and my partner at the time was starting to go through hard times, and my plan to camp with him kind of got shot. And Ping and his camp took me in, and I was so grateful to get to camp with them, and had just like a really, really lovely time. It was still hard not having my partner there, but having Ping there definitely like was really, really grounding and wonderful. Fast forward another year, I steal Ping away to join my camp at Burning Man, which is Gender Blender, the trans and gender queer camp, and had a marvelous time, probably my best burn, and once again, just adore getting to be roommates with this incredible soul that brings so much to the burn. And then we both had kind of a really hard year separately, like as far as what was going on. And, I was back at Gender Blender, and I met this really amazing person who has since turned into being my partner, who also is like really into LED art. And he designed this art piece that sounded really familiar. And it was this interactive light display that if you walk in front of it, it would follow you. And he described this other piece that he had found in the playa that inspired him to make this his own version of it. I was like, is that the light orchestra that Ping designed? And I asked friends. And next to we like whipped out phones and we looked at the videos like, yep, that's it. And so just like a full circle. And then as Ping was having his 40th, I had my 30th a couple weeks ago, and they got to meet and have this beautiful moment, full circle, and it was just really lovely. And I'm really glad that you're in my life.
Volunteer.
Coming.
Yay. Watch the head. Watch the double head. Got it. Awesome.
Okay. So coming from a slightly different angle on things, in 2010 I was in Haiti after the earthquake there during the incredible cholera epidemic, and I wandered through the hallway and I saw an epidemiologist trying to sort of like with her mouse put pins on Google Earth to figure out where the cases were happening. And I called the office of the charity I was working for, Doctors Without Borders, or Médecins Sans Frontières and stuff, and asked their New York office if they could get in touch with Google. And I said, I got somebody on the phone at Google and said, we need a way to import our patient list of cholera patients into Google Earth. And the guy started on some long discussion of something called fusion tables, and just upload your patient list on the internet. And I kind of said, I can't even begin to discuss what's wrong with that proposal. You have to send someone. And the guy said, okay. And a couple of days later, Ping got off the airplane into what was basically a post-apocalyptic landscape in Haiti. To give you a sense of what had happened there, that earthquake killed 270,000 people in a single day. That's Hiroshima, Nagasaki, Dresden combined in one day in one city. It was just a staggering scale of event. And the aftermath of that was that a lot of the people who were supposed to help actually wound up importing a horrible fatal disease that infected a couple of 100,000 people over the course of a few months. And we didn't have so much as the information to know where the disease was transmitting. So Ping shows up with another fellow from the Google crisis response team with a bag full of goodies, and they're usual, hold tight, hold tight. And there was, this is not really a funny presentation, but there was a moment where the cleaner kind of alerted me to some apparent, derelict in the office, and there was Ping with, he was sleeping on his computer, and there was quite a bit of saliva recorded his smack. And that time he put together something called Jiffy Map, which was a prototype for something that we're using today. And what it was something that just took a list of patients. We had cholera patients, and it made a little daily animation map. And 10 days after I had that, yes, thank you, exactly. 10 days after we had that, we were the ones calling the Haitian water utility to tell them when they had problems with their chlorination or water outages, because we could see from our patient numbers. We had that information all along, but we couldn't use it. We couldn't do anything with it until Ping turned it into something that we could see. And that has since turned into a project called the Missing Maps, which is a project to essentially map the bottom billion people, because it turned out that Ping was able to do that because a bunch of volunteer mappers actually created a map of Haiti after the earthquake. So we could do it for the cholera outbreak. We can't do it anywhere else because there is no map. So a project which is basically based on the night of hacking and drool in Ping's keyboard has turned into, if you look it up, missingmaps.org, it's actually quite an enormous project to map the most vulnerable and poorest people on the planet. And the reason that we were able to get the sort of buy-in and financing to do it was because we could demonstrate what we did with it in Haiti. Since then, Ping has been to an incredibly difficult and frustrating mission in Nigeria at my behest. And there was a moment where he called, I believe the exact words were, help me, Obi-Wan. And I'm afraid there was nothing I could do at that time. And since then, we just recently traveled to Chad, where there is a place with extraordinary levels of child mortality related to malnutrition. And Ping is once again working on ways for us to make better decisions to actually help people more. But I suppose the most, I guess there's so many things about Ping that people want to talk about today. I guess what excites me about Ping is that he represents in one single person, for me, the biggest single conduit that I have to the amazing engine of creativity and generosity and intellectual power that is kind of this pole of the world, while I'm actually in one that he himself describes as technologically and cognitively challenged, which is, by the way, not a slight against the people who live in these areas. It's simply a description of what they have access to in order to develop their faculties, which is not bloody much, unless you can develop a lot of mental facilities with mud and sticks, which is difficult. So that engine of creativity and generosity that solves a lot of problems that we don't have in the world of the bottom billion is the one that has clearly impassioned Ping for a long time. And Ping personally represents to me the first real bridge between those worlds, where it's actually starting to make some difference, and the differences thus far are small, but they are growing. So next, Ping.
Understates his own role. I'm along for the ride. It's really glad I feel that.
Well, I'm just going to say that my career trajectory of about the last 3 years wouldn't have happened without you. So, thanks a lot. Yeah, it's a pillow to put your tablet on so you can read.
Oh,
It's an episode in my life.
real.
Yes. Really
carry with me the MSF ID.
We're going back to the back of the room.
Are you gonna come up?
I am gonna come up.
Awesome. Maybe you can make
In some fashion, I will come up. Okay. Is this the official chair?
it is.
All right.
Hot
I'll
seat.
sit on the official chair. Hello. So I was having a really hard time, as I was thinking, coming up with any one story of mine that was going to encapsulate kind of what I think of Ping and what I think the world thinks of Ping. And so the story I actually remembered is not my story, but I think it actually does a really good job of illustrating. So at Burning Man, I volunteer for the mental health branch, which is a crisis intervention team. So when people are having a hard time, or in a lot of cases, if there's been sexual assault or relationship violence, things like that, we get called out to help. And especially if there's somebody who's reporting sexual assault and law enforcement is called out, we get called out to help facilitate, provide support, sort of be there and interface with the person and help them interface with law enforcement. And so we got called out, my team, 2 of us, got called out on one of these calls, and law enforcement was talking to the woman, and things seemed to be going pretty well, and they got done and they left, and they let us go in. And so we came over and we asked her, what she needed from us, what support she could use. And she said, I'm actually not doing as badly as I thought I would be if something like this ever happened. What happened was really terrible, and after it happened, but before I decided to report, I went and wandered around. I was trying to figure out what to do with myself, if it made sense to go to law enforcement, what I was going to do. And I stumbled on a camp that had lots of shiny lights, and this person was hanging out in front and asked me if I was doing okay, and I said I wasn't sure. And so he asked me if I wanted to sit down and hang out. And so she was telling the story of how she stumbled upon this person who spent the next several hours just hanging out with her, not asking her anything that she didn't want to talk about, but just being there with her, chatting with her, offering support. And then after a few hours of that, she felt calm enough to make a decision and decide that she was going to go report. And as she's telling us the story, there was nothing specific that was setting off any sort of signals in my head, but I asked her which camp it was because we were hoping to help her reconnect with some supportive people after she left. And she said, well, I don't know the name of the camp, but the person I spoke to was named Ping. And I thought, I should have known. Because that is so you. And so I think that story, even though it's not mine, really captures how a lot of people that I know and I personally view Ping. As somebody who was always there for anybody without pushing, without imposing, but a presence that people can be comforted by.
It's a little bit weird, but I feel compelled to say that you're all only going to tell good stories about me. I'm also a human being, and I have lots of flaws.
I don't necessarily have a long, drawn-out story, but I really wanted to share kind of a vignette. And there was really one ephemeral where I got to kind of be in the same captain's house as Ping. And I remember evenings spent talking really, really late, just about all sorts of things, and thinking, this person is just phenomenal. His heart is in the right place. He's not afraid to be himself, and he just loves life and loves the people around him. And this is fantastic. And I wish more people could have that sense of the joie de vivre. And then moving forward in that kind of time at Ephemeral, I also remember these jellyfish, and maybe some of you remember them and have seen them in various states of being. But I remember, and maybe I'm coming up with it in my own mind, but I remember this kind of windstorm, and everyone rushing and trying to take things down so that the umbrellas of the jellyfish wouldn't blow away. and Ping just kind of being there, trying to get everything to happen, but also being, I think, really high spirits. It wasn't something that was stressing him out, or it may have, but it didn't seem like that from the outside, right? It was instead kind of this energetic, fun, let's do this, let's problem solve, let's fix what's going to happen, rather than this is going on and I don't know what to do. Instead, there was this whole lot of energy going into how do we fix this instead of the opposite. And I teach a lot of students, I teach middle school right now, and I can tell you that it is so easy and so quick to go to the negative, and you don't. You know, sometimes it might feel like you do, but you always come out on the other side. And that is incredibly inspirational to me. You are incredibly brilliant, but also you have compassion. And that, I think, is really rare, especially as you go into kind of the computer industry. You get a lot of people who step on each other. And you don't. And that's really, really fantastic. So I do a lot of theater, although I'm mostly backstage. And for me, I felt like there was a song that kind of, in some ways, encapsulated who you were and kind of the ups and downs. I don't know if people are familiar with Jerry Herman, but there is a musical, La Cage aux Folles, and this is a song from that. I am what I am. I am my own special creation. So come take a look, give me the hook or the ovation. It's my world that I want to have a little pride in. My world, and it's not a place I have to hide in. Life's not worth a damn till I can say, hey world, I am what I am. I am what I am. I don't want praise. I don't want pity. I bang my own drum. Some think it's noise. I think it's pretty. And so what if I love each sparkle and each spangle? Why not try to see things from a different angle? Your life is a sham till you can shout out loud, I am what I am.
That was a really great song for Ping.
Can I quickly say something? I just very quickly remember it's 1998 and I'm in the car with Ping. And Ping is telling me how he believes that we're not too far from the moment when we're going to be able to connect with our cell phones wirelessly to the internet. And I told him he reads too much science fiction. Can you do that, really?
Hit the shift key.
Well, this isn't a heartwarming story, it's just a fun story. And it's actually really convenient because one of the people involved in the story just showed up. So let's see, I was at Ephemerisle some years ago, and it was a year that they had 2 islands. For whatever reason, they couldn't get them into one. And so there was occasionally people going back and forth, like in this like tiny little inflatable boat canoe, I guess. And I was kind of bored, to be honest. I was sort of like, oh, well, okay, we could sit around on this boat or whatever. There was this really cool like platform with like pillows in it and stuff. That was fun. But and I was talking to Ping, and actually I think Joanna was there. We were kind of all hanging out talking, and we were like, well, what should we do? We're like, hey, we should steal the flag from the other island. So we basically became pirates. The 3 of us went and like did this sort of like whole, you know, climbed up onto this thing and pulled off the flag and like then got into the boat, and one of us or some of us got in the boat and ran across to the other island and hit the flag there and stuff. And eventually like they caught on and you know did bad things to our island. So but it was fun. And that was a great adventure to be part of with Ping. So and Joanna.
I just have a short. Hey, Beatrice. Hi. I have a short appreciation for you. So I think a couple of weeks ago, right when Scalia died, you posted something that I was thinking too, which was you said something about it more, but I liked it. You said, when I die, don't just say nice things about me, like say true things about me. And I had actually been to a friend's mother's funeral, like the week before, where they gave the most honest eulogy I'd ever heard, and it was wonderful. Like they told about her struggles and difficulties she had, and how she'd like come through it. And I felt like this makes so much more sense than just to say all good stuff, because when you hear only good stuff, you think this isn't real, and we got a really clear picture of this person, and it was a beautiful picture. But my appreciation actually is mostly positive. It's entirely positive. But I love that you ask for help. I love that like, when you're having a hard time, you let yourself be vulnerable, and you ask for help and ask for support, and that's like a really good model for me. So thank you.
There's a little bag of like a little white bag over by JT. Yeah.
Little white bag.
Isn't that what it is? Bag of rye? It's a white bag.
There it is.
Yeah. Did I say it? Yeah. Yay! Alright, so my name's Taylor. I can tell the story of how I met Ping. It's not like as big or as exciting as some of these people's, but I will tell it anyway. And I also know how to juggle, so I will. I figure I can do both at the same time. Okay. Well, so I a little bit about me, because it kind of is somewhat important for at least me for the story. I grew up in Utah, in like yeah, I know. And, oh, you were talking about the javelin. So I grew up in a little town, not a little town, Salt Lake City. It's pretty big. It does have a very closed-minded approach to a lot of it, including the household that I grew up in. So when I got into juggling when I was in my teens, I started traveling around, which was nice. And I started going to conventions all over the United States, which was around. Yeah, good on purpose. So I started traveling around to conventions and all that, where I met a bunch of people who happened to be people that lived in the Bay Area. And when I want to say I was about 18, I had just turned and I had traveled to this area to go to a party for my friend Morgan and Josh and a bunch of people. And they were jugglers, and they invited me, which was very kind, because I was feeling a little unsure about things that I was growing up with and all this. I was starting to kind of be a different person. And I can't focus as well when I juggle. Tell my story and then I'll juggle more. So I went to this party, and the first thing I remember walking in, I mean, I was very sheltered. So I walked into this party, and my friends were like, "Oh, welcome to the party. Just so you know, like, there's a hot tub. It's clothing optional." Like, what? What does that mean? And or soup optional, I guess. And so they're like, "Oh, it's fine." And so I walked into the back of their backyard, and they had a trampoline. And I walked in, and there was a man jumping on the trampoline completely naked. It was a very good welcome into adulthood and different cultures and different things. That person was Ping. something that was a little out of my comfort zone, but also like didn't make me uncomfortable and just made me happy to see such freedom and like openness with people, and it changed my life in the sense that it kind of let me see different perspectives and get out of this kind of restrictive bubble that I had grown up in. And later, throughout the party, met Ping with I think clothes on later, and it was great, and it was awesome. So yeah, that's my story, and I'm juggling.
How many can you do at once?
See, that's always the question.
Of course,
Just
get it over
just
with.
enjoy.
Woo!
But you weren't satisfied?
But someone's gonna ask. So we're
I love healing.
Your ceilings are weird.
Yeah, right? Like you can't tell.
Like they look, yeah, you can't tell how high they are.
Yeah.
They look really small, but they're not. Hold on. Just give me a second.
Okay.
All right, got this.
You got this. You got this.
You go, girl.
Thank you for bringing brightness to me.
Do we have another volunteer? I know, there are lots of people. Should we hear some music?
Let's hear Ping play piano.
I felt rude for not introducing myself.
I'll stop.
Also, you're.
Ping, hit the shift key.
Right.
Yeah. Next up.
Where's the open my phone?
Yeah, it's make a joke.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
It's a lot of jokes.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Okay, they're gonna play first.
Save this for the next part.
Yeah.
Yes. A few others. Tablet is dead, so I can't see the words. True what? Yeah, no, that's good. That's probably a good way to get
We're waiting for a tablet to charge, so we're gonna do a sing along in the meantime.
There was a problem with the shift key before.
I met Ping on my first night ever at the Burn, Tuesday 3 years ago. Someone had given me a cookie that I was to take half of. Of course, I took the whole thing. And then someone put a dropper in my mouth. And put three drops of some San Franciscan liquid in there. About an hour into that, I was standing below a 50-foot woman who was on fire. Or maybe was she drowning that day? I don't remember. But anyway, I'm laying below her with my wife, wherever she is. And we started quite an epic cuddle puddle, my first of my life. I was raised a Jehovah's Witness missionary, so Burning Man was sort of outside of my comfort zone as well. And I guess I was in my first cuddle puddle, and then this gentleman walks up in this yellow robe, red and yellow put together with a yes, neon yes. Leans over and he says, "You guys look like you're having some fun. Do you want to have more fun?" We've come this far. I mean, yeah, sure. So by that point, there were about 7 of us in our group, and he was brave enough to take 7 people, 5 of whom were somewhere on a different planet, trying to ride bikes. And he took us back to our camp via a 2-hour tour of Burning Man art. And I guess I didn't realize, I mean, as you couldn't, having not experienced it before, I didn't realize what it was about. And I don't think there could have been a better emissary for our group. He was kind enough, brave enough to take us for 2 hours out of our minds. And he kept all of us together, which, if you've been there, it just doesn't happen. Got us home safely, and then we spent quite a bit of time that week with the light orchestra, which I was absolutely blown away by. And then my wife was having a birthday party at the end of the week in Reno, Nevada, and Ping came all the way from San Francisco. He had to work the next morning at Google. By 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, drove all the way to Reno to have this birthday party with us. And after that, the friendship has deepened. Our band ran our first Kickstarter last year, and Ping was such a generous donor. The last week of a Kickstarter is very exciting because you're never at your goal yet, or at least rock bands are often not at their goals yet. And Ping calls and he goes, "Do you have a plan for this? Because we're kind of getting to your deadline, and it looks like maybe you're not going to get to your deadline. So I'm thinking we could start strategizing this a little bit." I'm like, "We just keep posting it on Facebook. That's our strategy." And he's like, no. So let's try this out. So I'm willing to put this much money up, and I'm going to do it on a match pledge. And he starts this match pledge, and he ends up, I told him I would keep this confidential forever, but doubling his own pledge, because that momentum not only got us from $14,000, it got us up to $28,000 in the course of 2 days by this huge shift he caused to our curve there. So
Momentum, essentially.
What?
A lot of momentum.
A lot of momentum, yeah. Among other things, yes, he's a problem solver, but he's also just extremely supportive. I know you said to say bad things about you. I'm trying to Oh, and then, yeah, after the birthday party, he's like, "Why don't you come to my birthday party? We fill up the pool up with 500 gallons of heated veterinary lube, and we all get in together." And when I got there, I realized that he was bringing 1 or 2 people from all his different groups of friends. So the group was 12 to 20 people or so, but I think that was very intentional. Having gone to 2 of them now, we basically met in a pool naked and played a human knot game. And after that, a lot of those folks have gone on to be very, very good friends. And so a facilitator for not divisiveness, which we're in a divisive year as far as I can tell, but about bringing folks together. And I think that's probably the most important thing that you can.
I feel really divisive here.
Yeah, really divisive.
Really using our energy.
Yeah, totally.
So,
Are you still charging? Or oh, okay. I was trying. There you go. We're gonna play a song. Generally play a lot of our own music. And we're gonna play 2 songs off of a new album we wrote. It's called Breaking the Script. It's the one we had the Kickstarter for, and it's sort of about questioning the bubble, if you will. Coming from another small bubble. Hello, friend. But this is not one of our own songs. Genesis wrote this a long time before we could. So if you want to sing along,
very charging song.
Right. It's the same, it's just a shame. That's all. Let's see. It's black, it's white. It's the same, it's just a shame. That's all. I believe that I won't go. Don't my heart not to be so. Leave the thing with my head down to my toes. As it always seemed to be, and it's you when you're looking at me. It's always the same, it's just a shame. That's all. You're turning me up, making me feel like I want too much. Leaving me used just to push me through it all the time. Around, staying up all night, taking me lost and taking one bite. Just to push me through it all the time. I believe that I won't love. It's easy to hide, no. It's easy to think that I have to let go. As it always seemed to be, and it's you when you were looking at me. It's always the same, it's just a shame. That's all. I love you more than I want you to. There's no point in trying to pretend. No one makes me feel like say we'll be together to the end.
Impressive enough, going around the world saving people's lives and writing code and facilitating so many friendships. He's also a musician. Holy cow! The first time I came over to the house, we were upstairs and I noticed the Nord and I was like, "Oh, you play? Holy cow! What?" And he's like, "Yeah,
I said, what kind of music do you like? And he sits down and plays me Ben Folds, Fred Jones #2, and I almost sold me. Didn't you? Holy cow. Oh, would you like some water? Oh yeah, I'll take some water. So we're gonna play still charging?
Yeah, well, I'm about to start it.
Oh cool. We're gonna play a song. You wanna Eric wrote this, so you should post it.
I don't know what song it is though.
Above the Hiding.
Absolutely. Are we ready for that?
Oh, yeah, just about. Let me find that chord.
We're not actually going to play it on the
about
tablet.
A 15-second story about the song. So I could probably stretch it to about 22. So this song is called Above the Hiding. And in general, very broadly, it's about finding the courage to be who you are, being okay with that. I say the process of getting there, because most of us, at least my own experience of that, is not. It's been a process. So whatever that means to you, hopefully you can relate to that, and hopefully the iPad is charged.
Yeah, well, close enough.
We're close enough.
I think I'm missing the last lines.
Just lip syncing, so we don't have the batteries. Doesn't work.
I hope it survives. If it turns off during this song,
Do you want to? Let's grab that.
Yeah.
Until then,
Eric, what does this song mean to you? What does it mean to Eric? What does it mean to be above the hiding?
I don't know yet, because it's the process, and I'm not there yet. So it's the process of getting to be above the hiding. What does it mean to you, Brett?
What are you hiding?
Pink's the reward was that he got to be a guest musician on a novelist show, and I'm not going to say this counts. I mean, this counts, but this is not. This is a
novelist show.
Well, you know, it's an open invitation. Yes, you may. This is our. So about 2 weeks ago, when he was asking for ideas for the party, I'm like, hey, let's do the guest musician thing. So Ping is actually going to play Eric's piano part on this song, which is
I
awesome.
always wanted to play with these guys.
Yeah, I always wanted to play with you. I'm gonna sit over here. That's all right.
I don't usually sing without playing, so this is going to be really awkward for me. So just look at someone
You're an
else.
excellent dancer, though. Just dance.
Yeah.
Was it some Macarena work on the screen?
Okay, so.
Yeah. It's been a while, we've been down, now it's time we change the score. Breathe in the air, be who we are. Who would have thought we'd come so far? It's taken a while, but I found we keep on wanting it more. Never before I felt so much love, ready to live this life above the hiding. But I just choose to be there, crippled by the fear. Living a life, leave me alone. I grow tired of playing at that role, and I know this is real, something I can hold. Wow, even now it's time we change the score. Breathe in the air, be who we are. Who would have thought we'd come so far? I would have found keep on wanting more. Never before felt so much love, ready to live this life above the hiding. 1, 2, 3, 4. But I missed the chance to meet them. Going that time. I made the choice to keep my feet